Hi everyone, to continue our talk about Helene and her family and their extensive contact experiences with our Zeta family. I'd like to just explain a little bit, set up a very interesting session that we had. I came down to Helene's place one day because Auris had been speaking to her and Kira, her daughter, about Reiki, which was the way they were originally introduced to the Zetas, and he's given us quite a few hints to help get our Reiki energy flowing a lot more strongly. And I wanted to actually meet him face to face and speak with him because he's a guy who had been around me for quite a number of years, but having the opportunity to contact him through Kira, who was able to consciously see him, which was more than I have been able to do. I mean, I've seen them on a couple of occasions, but not as under such strong sort of circumstances as Kira was able to. So I took the opportunity to come down and visit them so we could have a session. And what they decided to do was put me on the bed and give me a Reiki treatment, because the Reiki brings in such protective energies. So we did it just as because we didn't know them that well at that stage, and we thought that we'd do it with the Reiki going just to give us that little bit of extra protection. And of course the Reiki brought them in very strongly because they love the high vibrational energy. So I just let Helene go on from there.
Amazing day. Yes, we had, like Jude said, on the table, and we were asking Auris different questions, which we've written about in the book. But then all of a sudden he came through and decided he wanted to teach us this 13-step aura cleanse. So because Kira could hear him, she was actually like the translator. So he was giving her the instructions and she was telling me what to do and how to hold my hands. For instance, for the Reiki people out there, by holding your hands this way, the energy is a lot stronger and more directed. So if you've got a sore knee, you'd put your hands around, over whatever sore part you have.
Or it's called the peace line.
Yes. Anyway, he showed us the 13-step aura cleanse, and at first we thought, this is, a bit difficult, but of course, as we got to understand it a lot easier and practiced it, we teach it in both of our, with all our classes now, and we've had so much success and everybody just loves it so much.
And the beauty of it is it's something people can do who aren't attuned to Reiki. You don't have to have Reiki to do it.
Yes, and we have put the aura cleanse on our YouTube as well. It's already on there, so if you ever want to check it out, it's there. So while he taught us all that and we spoke about a lot of things, when the day was over, we dropped Jude back to the train station for her to go home. And when I was coming home, I said to my daughter, I said, do you feel, more comfortable now that you've spoken to Judy and, the three of us getting together with Auris and all having a lovely day? And she said, yes, Mum, it did help, but she said, I just wish you could hear Auris's voice. And I just said, look, darling, I trust you. And she said, yes. Anyway, we got home and we're sitting in what I call my family room, and because I felt so important about the energy, I really wanted to go over and write down exactly what all the steps are, because it was sort of a lot to take in all at once, and especially in that sort of Reiki field too, wasn't it? In energy, I mean. So I'm sitting there and I'm writing down, now do I do this next and do I do that? And as I'm writing down each step, and at one point I was you've sort of got to go like that over your body, and I was going like this. And all of a sudden, I heard all the dogs bark in the street, except for our dog. And then next minute, I heard this really loud, authoritative voice say, fingers together. And instantly, I just went, it was like I felt like he was a school teacher and I was a naughty little schoolgirl or something. But the weird part was, our brains or consciousness couldn't take in at the time that we were actually hearing Auris's voice. So I turned to my daughter and said, is there someone out the front? And she raced out the front and said, no, Mum, there's no one there. And as she's walking back into me, it all of a sudden registered. And she said, oh my God, you just heard Auris's voice. And wow, it was such excitement. And I was in a state of shock at first when she told me that. And I just said, you know, thank you so much, Oris. And he allowed me to hear his voice that one time, you know, to help Kira as well.
To give validation, because Kira was worried. She was getting all these amazing experiences, and Helene couldn't see or hear Oris. I mean, she could feel him, but she couldn't hear or see him. I'm similar. I can link in an altered state, but there's full-on conscious contact, and she was worried that we wouldn't believe her, that she was making it up.
Yes, and that's another thing I just thought of too, that when Oris used to visit quite a lot, and I would, you know, have questions ready for him, or sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't, but we would have our chats, as I called them. And when he was in the room, his energy was so strong, and it was so freezing cold, but at the same token, we felt like, because his energy was so strong, that Kira and my bodies were vibrating really fast. It was like I was freezing cold from the inside out. And I mean, this is in the middle of summer here, and I would be just shaking. And the longer he stayed, the worse it was for us, because you know, his vibrational frequency is so much higher than ours, and our bodies could only handle so much of it. And he knew how long we could handle it, and then he would leave. And then over the period of time when we got used to it, then you know, we could handle the energies. But it took us a while to get used to it, didn't it? Yeah.
He'll often come in during Reiki seminars too, and all the students can feel it.
Yeah.
Everyone comments, oh, it's got cold in here all of a sudden.
Yes. Yes, and when we're teaching, or whether we're doing treatments, we have them coming in helping us, and we feel them, see them, and it's just amazing and beautiful. And our, you know, the clients who are open or aware enough also feel them.
And have seen them as well.
Yes, which is just beautiful.
Yes, it was wonderful when Helene's daughter Kira started getting these conscious contacts with Oris. He started giving her teachings and messages. Now, I've been receiving teachings and messages from him via automatic writing for many years. And so what happened, he started giving the same teachings and messages to Kira, who had no idea of what I'd been told. I specifically never discussed it with her, and she would come out with exactly the same things that I'd been told. So this provided validation and wonderful confirmation for me as well, that the experiences that I've been having over the years were just as valid, and there really was something there.
I remember one time you and I were talking on the phone, and you were trying to explain to me about the sound that it, you know, that a grey or zeta makes.
Well, I'll just tell the story briefly. I woke up one night with this loud, strange clicking sound going on in my ear that was against the pillow. And I had a clear memory that I'd been speaking to someone. We were just carrying out a perfectly normal conversation, and it was like I woke up from this conversation and the clicking was still ringing in my ear. And I picked my pillow up and checked it, thinking there was a cricket in it or something. And then I realised I remembered the conversation. And the next day I was speaking to Helene on the phone, and I was telling her about it, and I said, oh, I could hear this strange clicking sound in the pillow. I think it, you know, must have been something from upstairs. We must have been discussing something up on the ship. And I was trying to describe what it sounded like. And just then, Kira came into the room, and Helene was telling Kira about the sound that I'd heard. And Kira then left the room and went into the lounge room where the television was on. And
I just said to her, what does it sound like? And she goes, oh, I can't remember, and walked away.
Walked away, and just happened to walk in on a TV program about dolphins, and just as she walked in the room, the dolphin on the television program made this clicking sound. So Kira came racing back, Mum, I know what the greys sound like. It sounds like a dolphin clicking. And as Kira was saying this to Helene, I was also saying exactly the same thing. I know what it sounds like. It sounds like a dolphin clicking. And so Helene was receiving it down the phone, and also from Kira
at the exact same time. Exact same time.
And it's a really good description of what Zeta Speak sounds like.
Yes. Another example too is their knowledge of energy is just amazing. And when I did my master level in 2001, and for Reiki, and I was practicing, and I was attuning, you know,
practicing how to do it.
Yeah, because June had done, you know, my family had been attuned already to Reiki, but I was practicing, you know, for myself on my daughter. So as I was doing it, all of a sudden Oris arrived, and he added a few more instructions to the attunement. And so, of course, I did as I was told, and he is the expert after all. And so then afterwards I rang Judy. Oh no, so during this time, at the end of the attunement, he said you had to cross, their arms over. And I crossed Kira's arm, her left first and her right on the outside. And he said, no, you have to change it. So I did, but I didn't ask why at the time. And then afterwards I rang Judy saying, oh, this had happened. It was all very exciting. And he was sort of upgrading us with, new old information, really, isn't it? So then when I rang Judy, because Jude's, has learnt a lot about...
I teach Tai Chi and Qigong.
Yeah.
What Oris was doing, when we finish a Qigong practice, we normally cross our hands or cross our fists to indicate the practice is finished. And females always put the left hand on the outside and men put the right hand on the outside. So what Oris was trying to get us to understand is that at the end of a Reiki attunement, which is after all an energy practice, we seal the attunement by closing the hands into fists, which is symbolic of the attunement being sealed. And with a woman being attuned, we cross the left arm over on the outside. If a male is being attuned, we cross the right arm over. And it's just standard Qigong, which they knew nothing about, but Oris obviously does because of the fact that Zetas have a very deep understanding of energy.
And that was more confirmation again for us.
And he's just passed on so many little hints like that to us because, of course, Reiki was brought to Japan during the Second World War. It was developed out of Buddhism, and of course that couldn't be spoken about openly in America at that time, with relations between the two countries not very good. So it was packaged in a slightly different way, and so a lot of the, the base teachings behind Reiki weren't brought to the West. A lot of it was actually lost. And what Oris has done, he's gone through all of the Reiki with us and just tweaked it a little bit and corrected a few little things that have been lost from it.
And gave us a symbol for Reiki for 3A.
So gave us another symbol.
Oh,
it's been no major changes. I mean, Reiki is basically correct, but he's just tweaked it a little bit. And he's always encouraged us to try it. He said, I tell you these things, but try them. Make sure you feel comfortable with them. And we do.
Oh, we did.
We check.
Tried and tested first before, and we had to convince ourselves first before we taught others that. That's real important.
We don't just take it for granted that he's the be all and end all and is infallible. We always test what he tells us, and he encourages us to do that.
Yes, definitely.
And we've just found our Reiki has just improved so much. Quite amazing. The energy comes through so much more strongly.
And that's even with asking him questions. Sometimes he wouldn't answer. You would never ask him anything personal. It was always, whether we're talking about the universe or energy, he would answer sometimes, but sometimes he would say, you know the answer, Helene. You already know the answer. So he'd make us work for, or we would find some answers and then he'd add a little bit to it. He would never give us the whole lot all at once.
Never spoon feed us.
We really had to work for it. So, and we're very, very grateful for that.
Because we all have the answer within anyway. So he was just teaching us to dig deeper, look within ourselves for our answers, because we all do have the answers within. We've just got to be able to access them. And maybe have the trust and faith to be able to access them.
So I hope you all find your answers too. Okay. Thank you.